Today we're going to be talking about a movie that I'm pretty sure not a lot of people have heard about. It's a movie called Reverend I'm Available from Maverick Films, the same studio behind Battlespace, which we reviewed last year.
I need someone to love me for me. Please help me, Lord, I'm lonely.
I just want to let you know, Reverend, that I am available.
And I feel it is only right that I make myself available to you.
I'm available almost any time.
9 times out of 10, I'm always available.
Girl, where you get all that energy from? You wore me out last night.
Let me help you with your robe off, Reverend.
My sister Jamie.
Please, baby. Please, why not?
Why don't you leave your shine? I see the way you've been trying to call you up to the Reverend, all sophisticated, and got the nerve to try to be sexy with you. Reverend, anytime you want to check out them styles, purse and this.
I looked up reviews of Reverend I'm Available on YouTube just to see if anyone else has done it, and as far as my knowledge, just like Battlespace, I don't think that many people have. I mean, back then, Battlespace, when I reviewed it, was on YouTube in full. Now it's gone, unless eventually Maverick Films decides to post it on their YouTube channel like they did this one. But same thing here. I don't think that many people have reviewed Reverend I'm Available, so I guess I'm the first one. Recently widowed Reverend Grady Griffin soon becomes the hottest commodity at his church as the ladies line up for their chance to win his heart. With each woman vying for his attention, how is the Reverend to choose? There is not any rating on IMDb. This movie is from 2008 and there are no ratings on it whatsoever. All I see is that it's a musical. It's listed as a comedy musical. An hour and 50 minutes. Oh no. Oh no. I'm kind of surprised that not that many people have talked about this movie because out of all the other poorly made movies that were clearly made on a shoestring budget, you know, something like Birdemic or Amazing Bulk or even something like Flying Ryan, movies that are badly made but they are entertaining in how badly made they are, even Battlespace to a certain degree, I'm kind of surprised not that many people have heard of this one. Much like I've said with other poorly made movies like, say, Prehistoric Bimbos in Armageddon City or Crazy Fat Ethel 2 or something like that, there is that sense of, you know, I kind of want to congratulate these people because they made a movie, they went out and they did it, and it was sold in video stores, and it's now free to watch on YouTube with ads, so if anything, good for them. So much like Battlespace, I heard about this from an old video from the YouTuber The Blockbuster Critic, who did a top 10 worst movies video, and a lot of the movies were videos that he had at his Blockbuster video store before it closed down.
Now, this is one movie in particular that was so bad that I cried. I literally cried tears of pain. This movie is called Reverend I'm Available.
Two of them stuck out, and one of them was Battlespace, and this was the other one, and what do you know? It's available on YouTube, so I watched it, and it was sold to me just on the fact that the premise is it's a vaguely Christian comedy gospel musical. It's, yeah, that's the description of it, and I mean, does it live up to that title? Well, let's talk about the movie and find out. So right off the bat, the movie starts with an overly long driving sequence a la Birdemic, and we establish that there's some woman who's driving and she ends up getting killed in a drunk driving accident. Then we jump forward to a funeral scene, and we find out that this is the wife of our main character, the Reverend. This opening funeral scene goes on for a while, and there's just a bunch of back and forth between certain characters. There's lots of the camera just panning over different rows of people at the church. And for whatever reason, there's a bit of a spar between these two women at the church who eventually become potential love interests for the main character, but you know, I guess that's to try and show that these two women don't like each other, because one woman tries giving the Reverend a gift, and then another woman feels like she's trying to encroach on her territory because she likes the Reverend.
I'm sorry, I can't let this husband sit up here and tell lies on you. And you ain't got to know. I know you know. So I just went to happy hour a little early. Happy hour? I kicked your sister Cruz. No, let her know. I'll give you something to cry about.
Please, Charles.
This opening also establishes the musical aspect of this, and well, I will say that it does have more songs in it than something like Sunday School Musical. I don't even know how that's possible. That movie had musical in the title, and yet it had very little song numbers in it. This movie is chock full of song numbers. It's one of those musical movies where the songs really don't carry the plot forward. In fact, if anything, the songs feel like placeholder footage.
I roll up my windows and I lock my doors. People want to rock, they'll shoot it.
I feel like they just put these songs in the movie as a way to try and fill out runtime. And I was joking with the people I was watching it with that I feel like if you cut those scenes out, the movie probably would have been 40-something minutes, maybe 50 minutes long. Damn it, they had to pad it out to at least an hour and 50 minutes, so just put in a bunch of song numbers. Or for all I know, maybe the church that they were filming at said, yeah, sure, we'll let you film at our church, but you have to show off how awesome our choir is, and that was their stipulation. So every time they got to film at the church, they had to show a scene of, you know, the choir kicking ass and singing their hearts out. Because otherwise, without all the songs padding out the runtime, and really after this opening sequence, the movie plays out really, really casually, even with some of the more strange aspects to the film. Like, okay, after the funeral scene, the Reverend goes home to his apartment, and one of the three women who are trying to get with him show up. Every time she shows up at his house, she has to bring some kind of fast food with her. There's one scene where she brings Sky Burger or some kind of burger with her.
Here, Rev, I bought you a jumbo burger from the freeze.
Freeze.
And then there's another time where she's outside his house trying to get his attention, and she has a box of something. I couldn't tell if it was like waffles or maybe popsicles. I couldn't tell. It was a bright yellow box. That's all I could say. The very first time we see her, she goes to his house and she has a bucket of fried chicken.
Well, anyway, well, go ahead and sit down and eat the dinner.
Ooh, I never could turn down the Colonel.
And every single time she leaves, she still feels the need to swipe the food that he was eating and take it with her, because I guess the only joke they could do with her character is, ha ha, she's fat and eats a lot.
Oh, yeah, Reverend Griffin here. Oh, Sister Gussie Mae Taylor. How you doing, Sister Gussie?
Second of these three women they're trying to get with this Reverend. Every time they showed her, I was like trying to figure out, is she trying to do like a British accent or some kind of Southern Belle accent? I couldn't tell. It seemed like she was putting on some kind of accent. It's like the way she talks is like, oh, Reverend, I cannot believe that. I do declare.
I heard your sermon, Reverend. You need a woman. And I'm not going to deny the fact that I haven't had my eyes on you for a long, long time.
The third woman is a woman who has multiple children. She's a single mother, and her two oldest kids are helping her around the house and taking care of some of their younger siblings. And honestly, her family has a more interesting plot going on than this whole Reverend love triangle story that they have. Because one of the subplots that goes nowhere that they establish early on is that her oldest son is in some kind of gang, and he's a drug dealer, and they have run-ins with the cops, and this is my favorite thing. First of all, you know it's an awesomely bad low-budget movie when the cops are clearly wearing, like, Halloween costume cop uniforms.
It's my block, and I'm gonna keep handling it. Get yourself together, we're gonna bust you again. Anytime you lock me up, I'll be out in an hour. So how you love that? How you love that? I ain't getting myself together for you. If I get myself together, to be for my family, not for you.
What's even funnier there are several times where they show these cops rolling around, and it's like, oh, there's the popo, there are the cops. But their cop car isn't even painted like a cop car. It's just a regular white car. This movie had no budget aside from $5 and a ham sandwich, so it's just a regular car, and every time they roll by, they act like, oh, it's a cop car. I really wish there was more to this subplot, because stuff like that made me laugh hard. That's some like Flying Ryan suburban Sasquatch level stuff where it's like, that's a cop car, these are police officers. But this subplot ultimately goes nowhere, because halfway through the movie, they keep showing this kid with, you know, his fellow gang members, and, you know, oh, they're going out to the streets, they're trying to sell drugs, non-specific drugs, but drugs, and eventually, halfway through the movie, they end up getting chased by the cops, and he ends up getting arrested.
Rap gang, I'm feeding the hood, man. Man, it's a damn shame. Life is a bitch, man. Kicking this real game, something is insane. Life is like a cycle spinning 360 degrees. Got all these homies in the streets hustling for that cheese. Life is like a cycle spinning 360 degrees. I see it every day, homie, listen to me.
And then we just never see him again. It's really strange because there's also a part earlier on where they're showing her family, and the son is talking about, yeah, well, the only reason I'm selling drugs is because I want to move us out of this neighborhood and move us into a bigger, better house. And he even shows her like a house that they probably weren't allowed to film the interior in, so they just filmed it from the side.
See, that's the kind of house I'm talking about. That's the reason why I'm doing this. So we can have a house like that, where all the kids got their own room, you know, a nice place where they can run around at. That's the only reason why I'm doing that.
And this woman also has an older daughter who shows up periodically throughout the movie. She has a couple scenes where she sings in some of the musical numbers. But most importantly, there's a scene where she talks with the Reverend, and she's talking about like, yeah, you know, school's going good, keeping my grades up. I'm probably going to end up at Harvard. I'm thinking about becoming a singer when I get older, and you know, I try and help my mom get out of this neighborhood and move up to something better.
Well, Reverend, even though it's hard work, I don't mind it sometimes. Life is not easy. I hope to one day become a great singer so I can help Mama pay the bills and help out with the family.
And again, we just never see her ever again after this sequence. She pops up periodically, but in terms of like a subplot, she really doesn't do anything in the rest of the movie. Oh, and I also got to mention that it's not only these three women who are after the Reverend, but he also has a man lusting after him, who is the obligatory gay stereotype character.
Now, wait a minute. You ain't 1 minute. I know that you ain't gonna sit up in here talking to me all like that. You gonna sit up here and try to play hard to get with me?
I don't even know what to say. Do you know what to say to that? Let's just move on. In bad movie tradition, just like Birdemic or, you know, Julie and Jack, which we talked about last time on Blockbusters show, this movie has no sense of time whatsoever. You can't tell if this is like going day by day, or maybe like a few weeks had gone by, or if it's supposed to be like a year. After the funeral scene, they say that it's been 2 weeks since his wife's death.
Oh, Maddie, I miss you. It's been 2 weeks since you've been gone, Maddie, and it's been the hardest 2 weeks of my life.
And so then it just becomes this big hullabaloo of him having sex with these women, because he even prays to God several times throughout the movie, and he says like, you know, yeah, I love my wife dearly, but you know, I'm a man and I have urges. And eventually he gives in and starts having sex with these three women, and eventually one of them finds out about it, so now they know that he's sleeping around. And
oh, Sheila, baby, girl, where you get all that energy from? You wore me out last night.
Mm-hmm. You ain't saying nothing yet.
There's even a point in the movie where he has to take the day off, so he has like one of his other priests or reverends take over for him while he's out having sex with these women.
Before we continue with these services, I want to inform everyone that Pastor Griffin has fallen ill. He has a case of the flu, so I'll be bringing the message today.
Does this really qualify as a Christian movie? Because, I mean, yeah, the main character is a reverend, and a lot of it does take place at church. But the main plot is about this guy who just lost his wife, sleeping around with these women that go to his church. So I was like, does this really qualify as a Christian movie? And what's really shocking is there's a scene where, super early on, he's talking to one of these women, and he says something about how he misses his wife, and he wishes that the Lord can help ease his pain, and he wants to find another woman eventually.
I spoke to God about it, and he said he had a lot more work for me to do down here before he needed me in heaven. Told him to send me someone better than Maddie. No offense to Maddie, of course.
What the fuck is that line delivery? Seriously. I haven't seen that kind of shit in a movie since Over Her Dead Body. That stupid Paul Rudd movie with Eva Longoria, where she's a ghost, and she was supposed to be like Paul Rudd's fiance. Like every scene in that movie, Paul Rudd's like, yeah, my fiance died. Wacky, right? But here's where the movie starts to go full throttle into the religious elements. I mean, yes, every once in a while there's a scene where they bring up certain scriptures or they quote the Bible or bring up passages from it, and that's all fine and good. But when it goes full throttle, it's like, all right, I'm pretty convinced this does have more religious content than Sunday School Musical. There's a scene where it's near the third act of the movie. There's this woman who's an evangelist at the church, and she knows that he's been sleeping around, and she finally tells him off. And then she goes into a whole a cappella song number.
You've got to stop using God's Bible as a way to pimp your women out. Another thing, preacher.
But she tells him off for being a phony Christian and a hypocrite, and you're supposed to be the reverend, and you're abusing your power, and you're having sex with these women who don't really love you, and they're just trying to take advantage of you, and in a way you're taking advantage of them.
You see, Reverend, God don't need a hypocrite down here. No, a hypocrite. He don't need a hypocrite down here trying to lead his people.
And then I can't tell if this is supposed to actually be happening or if it's just supposed to be like a vision, like some kind of super extravagant, magical, mystical thing going on. But he starts praying to God for forgiveness, and then a man shows up in a white robe and a fake gray wig and a fake gray beard, and he's supposed to be God, and he comes and sings a musical number to the Reverend. Long stretches of just him having sex with these women. Thankfully, we don't see anything. Worst, they go to the bedroom and then they just start making fake sex noises like... Eventually, the word gets out. Some people at his church know. The three women and the one stereotypical gay guy know. And there are several scenes where they're in some kind of back office. They say it's supposed to be like his office at the church.
Right here. Now, ain't nobody leaving this room till we discuss the situation at hand.
Situation?
What situation is you talking about?
Come on here. Ain't we all like to get the Reverend?
Finally, he takes them all back to have a group prayer, and it's pretty much his way of saying that he wants to cut all of them off. Not only does he passive-aggressively tell these women that they're, sleep-arounds.
Forgive Sister Sheila Cruel for her flimsy sexual desires, and Lord, Sister Yvonne Chaney for her interpretation of what Satan can do for you. Help her understand, Lord. You'll help her with her children.
But, well, very uncomfortably, he also basically shoots down the gay guy by saying, the old card of, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Help him to understand, Lord, that you created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Now you can stop right there, Reverend. I done heard enough.
Oh my God, this movie is so uncomfortable to talk about. But ultimately, he has a talk with one of his fellow reverends or higher-ups at the church, and, they work things out. They just kind of laugh it off. It's like, ask the Lord for forgiveness, and try to sort your life out. Try to figure out how to get your life back on track, man. And then the evangelist lady shows up. They talk for a little bit. They start quoting scripture, and she says that she genuinely cares about him. And then we jump ahead a little bit in time. Not really sure how far along, but I think they said like a year at most. But the point is, the movie ends with him getting together with the evangelist lady. So now they're together, and he's found true happiness with a woman who he can share his passion for Christianity and the Bible with. And then we end with one more song number. And, yeah, that's the movie. That's Reverend I'm Available.
Put your hands together. Get on your feet. We've been having a hallelujah good time. I'd like to introduce to you the Reverend and Mrs. Grady Griffin. Come on, everybody.
And I'm assuming the movie sold well on video, because much like Battlespace and a lot of other things from Maverick Films and The Asylum and low-budget companies like this, they thrived during the whole straight-to-video boom that was going on in the 2000s. Before streaming services just buy out random crap so that they can say, hey, look at all the movies we have on our streaming service. Look, we have so much inventory, so many movies to pick from. And then you look at what they have and it's all just low-rent crap. It's pretty much what straight-to-video companies like this were doing back then. You would sell these kind of movies to video rental places and video stores, hoping that people would buy them. I'm assuming this one sold like hotcakes back then in the old era of watching straight-to-video movies at video rental stores, because they made a second Reverend I'm Available. Yeah, Reverend I'm Available 2.
I've been looking at you in a totally different way. I'm available too.
You may have everybody else fool with that man reverend stuff, but you don't fool me.
Look, I ain't gotta fool you. I know what God did for me.
Didn't watch it. It looks like the camera quality is a little bit better than the first one, but I didn't watch it. I can only take one of these at a time, so yeah, I guess we just gotta talk about some final thoughts for Reverend I'm Available 1. Like I've been saying all throughout, this movie is incredibly low budget, but much like something like Cool Cat or Flying Ryan or Amazing Bulk, there's that weird fascination that keeps you invested. Because I swear to God, the film quality is so grainy, it looks like, for anyone that's familiar with editing software, it's like when you see someone edit with iMovie for the first time, and there's like that weird kind of like glow on certain things, like along with some of the transition effects they use. There's a bunch of like, you know, stock editing software effects where they transition from scene to scene. Like you'll have like one of the shots like flip away and then like the next one like flips forward into frame. Acting is of course very stilted. It feels like it's that effect you get from movies like Prehistoric Bimbos or Crazy Fat Ethel 2, where it's like the people aren't actors, they're just people that the director or producers probably know. I know this because in the credits it said that the evangelist lady was played by the director and producer's wife. So there are several times where the bad acting goes along with the bad production. It feels like they didn't really have a boom mic and they were just using the built-in mic that's on the camera, because you can always hear like echo in the rooms that they're recording in. But since this was a movie by Maverick Films, the one thing that I wanted to figure out going into this movie was, is it going to be better or worse than Battlespace? And well, Battlespace, after watching the making of, the behind the scenes documentary for that was on YouTube, I can clearly see that Battlespace was a passion project. I mean, it was like this weird sci-fi story that someone wrote and really wanted to, you know, see through and make into an actual movie for people to see. So I can at least see that there was passion behind Battlespace. I can't tell if this was someone's passion project or if this was just something like, hey, we got a video camera. Oh, I wrote this little script. Why don't we try and make this into a movie? And they just decided to do it one day. And it's one of those things where once the movie was done, then everybody got together one summer barbecue and was like, hey, remember that movie we all made years ago? Let's watch it again. That does it for Reverend I'm Available. That's all that really needs to be said about a movie like this. As for what to expect next time on Blockbuster Show, we have one more video for February, and we're going to be doing sort of a movie marathon, but it's not for movies. It's going to be going down the first episode of 4 different rom-com animes that have been blowing up in the 2020s. You'll have to look forward to see what they are, because we already did Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, so we're going to be doing animes that are sort of in that vein, if not a little bit different, but you'll get to see those next time on Blockbusters. Until then, I'm Am Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
But this movie is by far probably one of the worst movies in history.